Alright, what's going on, everybody? So today I'll be discussing the latest episodes of Mushoku Tensei. Since I didn't get to do a review for the previous episodes, I'll take a little time speaking on them briefly. The bulk of this video will focus on my thoughts on the episodes 3 and 4. The second episode focused on his graduation from Roxy's magic lessons and Rudis overcoming his social anxiety. I like that we got some insight into how his life was and the hardships that he faced. That trauma stayed with him despite reincarnating, and the fact that he was bullied made him it makes him a more sympathetic and relatable character. By the end of the episode, Rudis not only had more respect for Roxy, but he had also gained freedom and confidence to step foot outside the village. In the next episode, Rudis has now grown to where he is no longer afraid of the world around him or what others might do. He ends up saving a half-elf girl named Sophiette from bullies, who he assumes is a boy because of her short hair. The first thing he notices is her appearance and what Roxy told him about the dangerous race of demons. Although she seems to be harmless, some of Paul's dialogue in this week's episode makes me believe that she potentially could become a problem later on. She didn't have that red gemstone, that red gemstone in her forehead that Roxy mentioned. I think it was like in episode 2 or whatever. But who knows? She might get it later. Who knows? She might get it later. The episode. So this episode that I'm talking about here, it focuses on the friendship that ends up forming between Sylph and Rudis, which was quite entertaining. Something that I liked about episodes 3 and 4 is the fact that the opening plays in the background as the show continues. There is no opening sequence, and as a result, the show really feels cinematic, for a lack of a better word. In general, I think that all the episodes so far they really flow nicely together, and I'm very curious on how the experience of like watching the show will be. Like once all the episodes are out, I really want to just watch it all, like marathon it all at once, because I think that it would really come out to be something like really epic to watch all at once. But so like this show in general, man, this show just simply looks incredible, both in terms of the animation and the environments. Every time I do a review about this show, I guarantee you I will always praise the animation and the environments in this show, and even the character designs. In episode 3, Rudis starts teaching Sylph how to use magic. There is a scene where she uses magic without an incantation after Rudis instructs her how to do it. When she succeeds, she starts running around while using water magic at the same time. That scene where Rudis and Sylph are just running through the field of what I think it looks like wheat. I think it's supposed to be wheat that they're like running through, but it was like a field of something. I think it was wheat. But anyway, that scene where they're like just running through the wheat or whatever, that looked amazing. Later in the episode, Rudis takes Sylph home to escape the rain and decides that they both need to take a bath to kind of just warm themselves up. So despite saving Sophiette from the bullies earlier on in the episode, he accidentally embarrassed her and sort of kind of made himself into the bully in this situation by forcibly taking off her clothes when she refused to do so. The remainder of this episode focuses on patching things up. It basically focuses on him patching things up with Sylph after finding out that she was a girl the whole time. Rudis seeks his father's advice he seeks his father's advice on how to handle the situation. So here's the thing. Something that I liked about both last week and this week's episodes, which I ended up just watching both of the episodes side by side today since I had to catch up. So, but something that I liked about both of those episodes is the fact that we get to learn more about Rudis' father, Paul. I'm actually surprised by how much it focused on Paul, how much focus is on Paul, and just how flawed a character he really is. And just in general, with a lot of these, with some of these shows, we don't really focus on the parents too much. It's really just to focus on the kids. So that's another thing that this show does that I really like. And we find out. So here's the thing. We find out at the beginning of this week's episode that Rudis' father is a freaking scumbag. He got his wife and his maid pregnant at the same time. Between this and how he So between this and how he speaks to his son about women, he really is something else. Is it safe to say that he's like one of the worst husbands and worst dads in anime? The beginning of the episode focuses on the family just dealing with the fact that, there's two babies on the way, and while the remainder takes place, after the babies are born. I like the fact that, I like that after Paul just outright admits that the maid's baby is his, we get a scene where everyone is just sitting in silence. Zenith, the wife, she is struggling to try to figure out what to do next. The beginning of the episode is very good. It's executed very well. You have to respect the fact that she was strong and compassionate enough to let that maid stay despite what she did. Like, that was very underhanded. This, of course, was a decision that Rudis helped her to make. Rudis helped her to come to that decision to basically help the maid out, because if they didn't, then the baby and possibly the maid, or both of them, would have ended up dying. It turns out that she essentially what she did, the maid, she ended up seducing Paul one night, which is weird considering what we find out later in the episode. So Paul sexually assaulted her many years ago. Yeah. What? Like, what? So what is so crazy about this whole thing is the fact that we all know, based on what we've seen so far in this show, that those walls in that house are very thin. Rudis, Roxy, and the maid have heard Zenith and Paul have sex on multiple occasions. A part of me wonders how Zenith didn't even know. Like how could you not hear that? Assuming that they were being loud, But anyway, later in the episode, Paul gives Rudis a letter from Roxy in which she tells her, she tells him that he should consider, going off to school to improve his magic. And then after that, Rudis mentions the possibility of, going off to school to Sylphiette, in which case Sylphiette begins to cry, and Rudis promised, to basically, be there for her, to, not leave and everything. But then later on, Rudis asks his father to pay the tuition for both him and Sylphiette, in which case Paul basically declines. And I totally get Paul's reasoning and the fact that he has two more mouths to feed, man. I mean, he didn't mention that outright, but let's be real. He got two more mouths to feed, and then, the whole point he made about money. So yeah, I definitely see his point of view. Paul does mention the fact that going off to school might not be a good idea for Sylph, and I also get that too, because just based on, the bullies who are picking on her, and the fact that she, the way that she looks. But Rudis tells him that it might be a good thing for himself. It might be the best thing for himself. In which case, that somewhat could be true, given the fact that he doesn't really have any friends outside of Sylphiette. And then the same thing can be said for Sylphiette. Near the end of the episode, Paul asks Rudis how he would feel if he told. Basically, Paul asked Rudis how he would feel if he told Rudis to essentially stop seeing. Eventually, can't even speak right now. Essentially, stop seeing her. How he would feel if he told Rudis to stop seeing her, and then Paul just straight up attacks him and knocks him out, and then. So here's the thing. This scene makes me believe that she might have some connection with that dangerous demon race that Roxy mentioned in a few episodes ago. We're introduced to a beast woman named, and like I said, forgive me if I mispronounce any names, but I think it's pronounced Ghislaine. So we're introduced to this beast woman named Ghislaine, who Rudis will now be working with. So I thought that episode 4 was a really entertaining episode. And it's great to see, and we're only 4 episodes in, and Rudis has now gotten a lot of what Rudis didn't have in his previous life on Earth. He now has in this new life. He has freedom, he has family, he has friendship, and now he's about to get a job. So this is really good so far. It's really good. What was I gonna say? So yeah, like I said, it's a really good episode. I continue to enjoy Rudis's I continue to enjoy Rudis's his inner thoughts, his his internal monologue. Although I know that some of it has caused some controversy recently. For those that don't know, recently some people have started to complain about many of Rudis's actions and his inner thoughts aimed at those inner dots, those actions that are aimed toward the female characters. While I understand both sides of the argument, I personally don't have an issue with it. Just to kind of give, just kind of give a like quick examples of what I mean, to where like people are upset by it. There's that scene in episode 2 where Roxy is getting off while Rudis's parents are having sex, and then there's also his dots, his some of his dots toward Roxy, and the fact that he stole her panties. Just little stuff like that. I mean, I think it's important to keep in mind that these moments are played up for laughs, and that he's essentially still 40 years old. I mean, mentally, like the humor works for me personally, as I get the context. Like in the context of the show, he's a 40-year-old man mentally in a child's body, which I guess is like the big issue that some people have with it, but whatever. With that being said, though, there is a moment in this episode where he thinks to himself about essentially grooming Sylphiette to be his wife as they grow up, which I think is kind of creepy. Still, I would say the humor and the fan service, or if you want to call it that, that hasn't gotten in the way of the story that is being told, that's trying to be told there. So far, I think that this has been really well paced. I love the dialogue and interaction between Paul and his son during these last couple episodes, this episode and then last episode. I got that's just complete gold. It's just, this show has been really entertaining to watch, and it's been really well done from a production standpoint, at least in my opinion. These episodes have just been excellent, and I can't wait to see what happens next week. Anyway, I hope you guys enjoyed watching this video. If you did, please hit the like button, subscribe to the channel for more reviews and first impression videos. If there is an anime or a manga you would like for me to do a video on, consider becoming a Patreon at patreon.com/fearnohate, or you can donate via PayPal. Your donations will keep me motivated and help the channel out. Regardless of if you donate or not, thank you guys for watching this video, and I'll see you guys next time. This has been Fear No Hate. I'm out here. Peace.